Monster Hunter World is third-person action RPG in which you hunt monsters. That statement is wrong. Of course you track and fight mighty beasts in this game, but I would say that the weapon system plays the main role here, rather than the monsters themselves. There are 14 weapon classes in Monster Hunter World and each of them is very different from another, with only one or two being slightly similar. I'm about 90 hours in, just finished the main story, barely touched the endgame and not even thinking about the real endgame that I've heard so much of. Hardcore players can put as much as 3 or even 4,000 hours in, grinding better gear, slaying stronger enemies forever. When I first heard about the game, I didn't know what to think of it. I wasn't sure whether I should play it or not. As a fan of third-person fighting games, I was really fascinated by its complex combat system. As a fan of well-designed bosses, I wanted to see how it feels to fight one for over 30 minutes. As a person who is into biology, I'm interested in games that create illusion of breathing, living ecosystems, so I was curious how well they created this new world. But besides my spirit of inquiry, there was something else. The fact how long it takes to finish the main quest, rumors about its highly addictive nature, the importance of grind, which manifests itself by fighting the same monster over and over, has raised my concerns about the game. The question I've asked myself was, is Monster Hunter World worth playing? In this short video I'm going to present arguments both in favor and against this issue, and hopefully by the end we'll know the answer. Fighting in Monster Hunter World feels simply amazing. It's mainly thanks to the plentiful of deep and complex mechanics tied to the combat system itself. Started playing, I've picked the switch axe as my weapon of choice, but after about 25-ish hours, I've switched to the hammer. And since I know it the best, it will serve as an example in many cases. Other weapons will be described briefly, because I haven't played them for that long. If you are already familiar with the weapons, then go ahead and skip to the next section. When I had picked it for the first time, it felt awkward to move, but soon I've learned that by holding R2, which is responsible for charging attack, I can run faster and even charge my weapon at the same time. Not long after, it became my main tactic against fearsome monsters. Charge up has 3 levels, with 3 different animations and damage. At circle button you have the Beam Bam Boom combo, which can be chained up to 5 attacks by hitting the monster. Later I learned to my surprise that you can slide holding R2 and then jump up, performing devastating Artorias-like attack. Did I mention that by attacking monster's head with a blunt weapon you can stun it? The joy of discovering new moves, chaining together more efficient combos and learning attack animations is really rewarding and truly worth experiencing for yourself. The most broken, but in my opinion the most satisfying attack, is changing your direction mid-air after bouncing off the cliff to hit the beast right in its head. It may seem repetitive and boring, but damn if it isn't satisfying. All the running, jumping, spinning and crashing horns with giant hammer is so satisfying and well executed that it's unbelievable that Capcom designers have achieved that level of depth and complexity with all the 14 weapons, but they have managed to do so. Switch axe is an axe that can switch into a sword. Its reach is decent, but your movement during fight is pretty limited. By pressing circle button you can chain as much swinging attacks as your stamina will let you, which is good for punishing stunned enemies. One of my favorite attacks is raising the axe so it can hit the otherwise unreachable tails or heads. Following that you can execute over the head attack, which can further damage the enemy. Tails are easily chopped off using elemental sword, in which you can transform your axe by pressing R2. Moreover, you can attach yourself to the monster's body and perform devastating energy blast. Greatsword is, I believe, the slowest weapon in the game, but it is also the strongest one. Main way to deal damage using it is to charge attacks. Getting ready to attack, you're left vulnerable, so learning monsters' attack patterns is necessary to master this weapon. You can block attacks using R2, but pressing circle while charging attack may also come in handy, as it, if timed properly, provides damage reduction without breaking combo chain. Great feel of landing successful charge attack compensate for its limited moveset and low mobility. Longsword, like the name suggests, has a very long reach. With its broad moveset, experienced player can adapt his playstyle to the challenge that he faces. You can use unique to this weapon dodges, followed by counterattacks, to combine defense with offense. This weapon has so-called focus meter. If you fill it by damaging opponents, its power can be used to perform spirit attacks by pressing R2. After successful spirit combo, spirit couch levels up. Now katana-like weapon deals additional damage. This effect can be repeated 3 times. Moreover, by pressing triangle and R2 at the same time, character will do powerful jumping attack. It really amazes me how deep this weapon is. Variety of attack combinations is praiseworthy, and that's only 1 out of 14 weapons. Sword and shield can be mistaken as a casual, easy to use weapon. I could not disagree more. The premise is simple, you have dagger-like sword and small shield, but it's so much more. Hunter wielding sword and shield is very mobile and jumpy. There are many attacks which leap you into the air, giving you the opportunity to mount the monster. Small shield isn't great at blocking damage, but still it can often save your life if you're fast enough. It's not difficult to use, but at the same time there's a lot of mastering potential with this one. Dual blades are the fastest weapon in the game. Their main feature is the demon mode activated by pressing R2. It completely changes the moveset, which is so complex that I won't bother myself trying to list off every attack combinations. Moves in demon mode are faster and deal more damage at cost of constant stamina loss. After filling demon bar, you'll access yet another mode, archdemon mode. With yet another moveset, speed of this weapon come really handy when trying to inflict status elements. Hunting horn is really unique weapon. It combines attack weight of a hammer with an elegance of musical instrument. By executing an attack, player chooses notes. There are 3 different notes available, and combining them in specific order followed by pressing R2, which is responsible for playing the melody, will inflict status buff on you and any party member around. Its reach is surprisingly long, so the fact that it's a blunt weapon, thus it can KO monsters, encourage hunters to aim at the monster's head, and believe me, it's extremely satisfying to do. Lance is a relatively simple weapon, as it does not have much moves to learn. The complexity of it lies in the positioning yourself correctly rather than remembering long combo sequences. It has the worst mobility in the game, meaning you slow walk and cannot even dodge roll using it. But the extensive dash system and truly strong shield compensate the lack of the dodge. Pointy nature makes it immensely effective in landing attacks at monsters' weak spots. Adding to that, run-up attack is great to catch fleeing prey. Overall, this weapon lands as one of my favorites in the game. In truly Bloodborne style, gun lance is a weapon with a hidden catch. It's similar to normal lance, but with addition of a gun built in it. Its mobility isn't so good either, but we can see the same solutions to this problem as in the regular lance. I would say that this isn't much of a different weapon. One change is obvious though, the shielding mechanic. Pressing circle will perform shielding attack. Holding the button will charge shielding, so it can blast right into monster's body. Worth mentioning is the fact that there are 3 gun lances types with different shielding range and power. It's a tricky weapon, not easy to master. Charge blade, as the name implies, involves a lot of charging. The simplest charge is executed by holding the circle button. It is just a stronger version of simple circle attack. Now the stairs begins. I'll try to cover this weapon in the clearest way possible, as it is by far the most complex that I've spoken of. So, By attacking the enemy, you charge your blade. There are 2 levels of charge, orange and red. When your blade is charged, you can use it to charge files. Those 5 files store the energy. Now you can either transfer that energy into powerful transformed axe attack or into your shield, thus opening your character to many new possibilities and combo chains. My intent is to only briefly describe every weapon, so I won't talk about those possibilities, but they are vast, believe me. Insect Glaive is a very unique weapon. It is the jumpiest of the jumpiest weapons in the game. Using it, player can literally spend 90% of the fight midair. It has specific move that launches you up. Then you can attack and jump off an enemy up to 4 times, each time dealing serious mounting damage. If you like riding big dragon-like creatures, this is weapon for you. Oh, I've almost forgot about the main star of this weapon, little cute flying bug. You can throw him onto an enemy. Besides dealing damage, he will leave small cloud which explodes after being hit. He also boosts your damage and grants you new moves when you call him back. Bow. This one will be quick. It's a bow. It shoots arrows. You can charge the arrow to deal more damage. You can coat your bow to deal elemental damage, or be better at close range. By pressing circle, you can shoot bag of rocks into air. If they land on monster's head, they do KO damage. That's it. Well, it sounds simple, but the bow is really fun and rewarding long range weapon, of course if you've mastered it. Light and heavy bowgun. They are similar weapons, so I'm gonna describe them in one go. Because they are range weapons, they are great to fight any flying enemy. You can choose from many different ammo types like piercing ammo, exploding ammo, slicing ammo, poison ammo and many more. Then you just pull the trigger and reload from time to time. The light bowgun can place mines which explodes after you or the enemy hits them, and the heavy bowgun have full auto series that deals massive DPS. And that's it. As you've seen, there are many complex weapons to choose from. Many would say that this freedom of choice is something positive, but in my opinion, they couldn't be further from the truth. In 1995, Professor Cheyenne Legnar, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, from Columbia University carried an experiment on the topic of too much choice. She opened a market stall that offered jam samples. Every few hours she would alternate between offering 24 choices of jam to just 6 choices. Throughout the day, more people visited the stall when more jams were on display. Their attention was drawn toward vastness of the exotic tastes. Interestingly, however, it was during times when fewer jams were on the display that customers actually converted their browsing into purchasing. The possibility of choice is something that we crave for, but in reality, many people actually find too much choice overwhelming. One can see a wide range of different weapon types as an advantage over games with just 2 or 3 fully polished ones. But in reality, more choice we have, the less happy we are. Imagine that you're buying new shoes. You're in the shop and with you various models, dozens of them to choose from. So you start comparing them, maybe try a couple pairs. There are so many of them. Which will be the best for you? Which will be the most comfortable, the most stylish? In the end, you decide to buy your ideal shoes. They must be at least close to perfection. After all, you have chosen them over many others. But you are not feeling good, you feel regret, you feel doubt. The other pairs could be much better. What if you could have chosen better, you ask yourself. In Monster Hunter World, players are asked to choose a weapon at the very beginning, and most of them, myself included, are paralyzed rather than amazed by vastness of options. That is what's called paralysis of choice. You are too free, and this affects your ability to enjoy the game itself. Okay, let's assume the answer is simple. You're gonna play Great Hammer, for example. Due to amazing design of each and every weapon, it takes actually a lot of time to master one, and only by mastering certain mechanic you can fully experience and appreciate it. It can be thanks to me being retarded on something, but it took me about 50 hours to master the hammer. Its builds, synergies with armor sets and overall strategies, and all that was for only one weapon. So at the very beginning of the game, players have to answer a rather difficult question, and that is, what weapon should I choose? If you've played any of the games, then you'll probably know that feeling, being overwhelmed by a variety of weapon types. You don't wanna choose the wrong one, cause you'll spend next 40 to 50 hours in Monster Hunter World playing that weapon, and in many cases the numbers will be even bigger. Furthermore, following the choice is doubt, which after 10, 20, 30 hours will potentially turn into regret. To put it simply, players often question their decision regarding the weapon they have chosen. They wonder if it wouldn't be better to choose the bowgun instead of the heavy bowgun, longsword instead of the greatsword, hunting horn instead of the hammer. You get the idea. Encouraged by that very regret, they will choose different weapon, investing another hours into mastering it. By the time they have realized, players will have put thousands of hours into learning many, maybe even all of the 14 weapons. You can call it what you want. For me, it's much similar to how an addiction looks like. Whether creators made this game out of passion and love for games, or simply to get rich, Monster Hunter World is a highly addictive game. And I think same could be said about whole series, as every entry is extremely grindy and requires a lot of material farming. But since I've only played the last title, I won't criticize series in general. The last installment is a game that you can very quickly get addicted to. It consciously forces player to feel certain emotions, such as regretting of choosing one weapon and not even trying the rest, so we feel urged to check them out, one after another, for hours and hours. Another emotion is lust for power. As the game progresses, you will face stronger, mightier beasts on your way, unlock recipes for stronger gear, which will let you fight stronger monsters. They, on the other hand, will drop better materials, so we can craft hammer or double blades to deal bigger damage. This allows you to overpower yet stronger enemies. Repeat this about 100 times and, my dear friendo, we have fallen into a trap. This game creates these emotions to hook and trap the player into the addiction cycle. I'm aware that I sound like some anti-game freak proclaiming that games are addicting and therefore bad, but I don't mean that at all. In my opinion, addiction isn't always something bad, something shameful. After all, we are all oxygen junkies. We are all addicted to sleeping, eating, going to work, etc. We can become addicted to novel, Netflix series or movie saga. Yet these aren't negative addictions, in most cases of course. So my counter-argument to the vastness of choice regarding weapon types would be that the game, having that much content, creates emotions which make addictions to it very easy. It goes without saying that Monster Hunter World has some amazing enemy design. After all, its main premise is to hunt those mighty beasts. The visuals are always the first thing that you'll experience, so I might as well start with them. Starting with colorful Puki, its big eyes, feathery wings and fatty tail, through outright cute design of Paloma with cat-like posture and fluffy collar, ending on magnificent elder dragon like Nergigante with huge spikes growing out of its whole body. The high quality of visual design of every enemy in this game is praiseworthy, but the thing that strikes me the most is how well visuals match the gameplay. Puki's big eyes aren't only a neat 3D model detail, they have their usage in fight as well. When the monster is wounded enough, it goes into rage state. During it, beast is faster, deals more damage and is simply more aggressive. When Puki's eyes turns red, it indicates that it is in rage, and you should be careful. Palomo's collar can be inflated, allowing him to float in the air, which can be pretty annoying if you're using a melee weapon. Nergigante's spikes also aren't just on static. This monster can perform powerful attacks shooting spikes out of his massive wings. It's worth noting that the spikes will grow back multiple times as the fight progresses. We can also break his spikes, making him unable to perform that attack. I could go on listing out additional correlations between visual design and the gameplay, but you know what? It's my channel, my video script, my life, and I can do whatever I want with it. Since I've been playing Monster Hunter World for about 90 hours, and I have my observations upon this game, which I haven't heard anywhere else, most of them at least, I believe it's my duty as an aspiring game critic to share them with the world, with you. So here we go. This definitely isn't the way to cover up my inconsequential writing. When Great Jagger's belly is stuffed with his favorite dinosaur fast food, by the way, I don't know whether it's fast because it runs quickly or because he consumes it in a matter of seconds. Anyway, when Great Lizard is in a pregnancy state, he uses his fat belly to crush players to the ground. Furthermore, you can make him vomit his stomach contents and thus take away the advantage from him. I love how the Devil Jaw interacts with other monsters, mainly he uses them as a weapon, throwing them left and right. It is so amazing experience to hunt the monster that is changing his fight style so smoothly. You have to be very flexible, very alert. Adding to that, monster's AI is amazingly designed to organically adapt to its surroundings. Monsters will regularly flee from the fight place as they get significantly wounded. If you lose track of them but you coincidentally had read the notes on that species and had stumbled upon their nest or the place where they can find something to eat to regain some health, you can make an assumption that the monster is there. Mentioned before, Great Jaggers uses the fact that his stomach is filled with his quick snack as an advantage. Much similar Pookie Pookie transforms previously consumed toxic plant into toxic muscus, and believe me, you don't want to get covered in it. The way that enemy AI so often and so easily interacts with the world and other AIs around makes this creation of systems which interact with each other, well, let's call it ecosystem, because at the base that's what it is. So this ecosystem feels very natural, very organic, and in a way, even alive. It has strict, mostly coincident rules that it follows, so player can predict how the monster will behave, simply because its actions make logical sense. The world and monsters of Monster Hunter World truly do their jobs in presenting realistic ecosystem in a digital format, and I personally think that it's really worth experiencing for yourself to truly appreciate its beauty. The second thing that has raised my concerns right after playing of the game was the fact that people described it as a grind game. A very good grind game, but a grind game nevertheless. Finally, after playing it, I can say that my concerns were confirmed true. At the core, Monster Hunter World is a grind game, meaning playing it you will repeat very similar, often exactly the same tasks many times in order to achieve your goals. Don't get me wrong here, I don't say that every grind game is bad. It would be so stupid assumption to make. I loved my time with Monster Hunter World. Whether the grind, in general, is a waste of time or not is a topic for another video, but to answer the question from the beginning, we need to look closer on Monster Hunter's grind. It presents itself in the hunt itself. As I showed before, there are many weapons in this game. And to upgrade your weapons, you obviously need some materials that you get from killing monsters, and you have to kill a lot of them, and I mean a lot. Hunts themselves are really fun and engaging, environments and beasts are cleverly designed, so it didn't bother me to replay the same mission twice or thrice. Unfortunately, later in the game, defeating monster thrice isn't enough. To upgrade late game gear, player must hunt the same monster over and over, hoping that it will drop desired materials. As I stated before, fighting monsters is really fun. It involves a lot of skill but also patience. Forgive me all Monster Hunter veterans for that comparison. It is like fighting a Dark Souls boss, but for 30 minutes. Although hunts are amazing, during the game, player will reach the point when they become mindless activity. They are no longer challenging nor surprising, thus they are nowhere as engaging as before. And you have to understand, you have to go through that more or less mindless grind to create more powerful armors and weapons, to upgrade them in order to complete the main quest. That is, if you are playing solo. But playing online takes away the challenge, thus it is for pussies. Anyway, I consider this as a serious problem, cause something which originated as fun activity, seemingly out of nowhere, turns into a boring job. But it is dressed in such a way that the player doesn't even realize that. While playing Monster Hunter World and grinding through it, I wasn't really aware of that at first. This point of view came to my mind when I have realized that I have spent 30 minutes on simply planning what am I going to grind for now. For me, it was enough. I still play it from time to time, but only pure monster killing. No upgrading, no creating new gear. And I feel good knowing that my free time isn't wasted on something that is only disguised as fun. And I think that you should do the same. As you can hear, I have mixed feelings about this game. Many of its parts are amazingly designed, I would even say that about most of them. The visual design of the environments, of the plants, the animals, visual design of the monsters, general design of the monsters, the AIs, the way in which they interact with the world, how they respond to the hunter hunting them, well, the hunters themselves, the really cool design of their armors, their weapons. You saw at the beginning how great the weapons are in this game. I could go on for another minute or two listing things that are outstanding in Monster Hunter World, but you probably get the idea. Unfortunately, there's a dark side of Monster Hunter's coin. Its highly addictive nature and systems which trick you into playing it forever. Add to that ever-present grind which takes away the fun factor and you have a recipe for disaster. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe it's because I don't understand grind games, but believe me, I've tried to understand them. You may not agree with my opinion, but here it is. Monster Hunter's grind is good and well designed, but to the point. And so I think that the question from the title has no definitive answer, because it's a wrong question. The question should be how much of your time Monster Hunter World is worth, rather than is it even worth your time. Of course, it's highly subjective and definitely depends on the player, but I assume from in-depth analyzing it that Monster Hunter World is worth about 60 to 70 hours of your free time. During that time you'll probably complete the main quest. 60 hours is more than enough to master 2 weapons. I know that 2 from 13 is not much, but I think that you shouldn't check them all out. Not because they are bad, no, you should choose only 2 of them, because by doing that you test yourself on a completely different level. Remember the paradox of choice? In my opinion, Monster Hunter players who limit themselves from playing every weapon became better in dealing with the regret of choice, and thus became better in a game we all wish to master, life itself. The designers probably didn't intend it to be some meta learning experience, but it doesn't stop me from treating it as such. Well, that's it. Thank you all who lasted till the end. I'm working on that secure analysis that I've mentioned in my God of War video. I hope that the quality of writing and editing increased a bit. If you have any comments, any advices for me, go ahead and let me know in the comments, or write to me on email, should be in the description. To the next time.